progressive rock. The genre that took rock music to places it had never really been before. Now, in the late 1960s, something remarkable started happening. Artists began experimenting with longer compositions, incorporating classical and jazz influences, and exploring deep philosophical lyrics. Today, we're going back to where it all began, with 6 of the essential tracks from the 60s that laid the foundation for the progressive rock sound we all know and love. Let's get straight into it, shall we? First up, we have Procol Harum's A Whiter Shade of Pale. Released in 1967, it's a song really that needs no introduction, but let's take a moment to appreciate what made it so groundbreaking. The blend of rock with a classical feel, mainly inspired by Johann Sebastian Bach, was something listeners weren't used to back then, and that hammered organ, how it swirls and weaves around those haunting vocals. Onto the lyrics, they're so obscure, poetic, full of imagery that leaves you guessing what it's really all about. That's exactly what set it apart from the pop hits of the day. It wasn't a straightforward love song, it was a mood, an atmosphere. For many, this was one of the earliest hints that rock could be more than just simple tunes. It could be art. The next band that often gets overlooked in discussions of prog rock's roots is the Moody Blues. Their track, Legend of a Mind from the 1968 album, In Search of the Lost Chord, is an early masterpiece of the genre. While it's a psychedelic ode to Timothy Leary, it's much more than a counterculture piece. The song features sweeping symphonic arrangements, poetic lyrics, and the haunting use of a mellotron, a sound that would become a progressive rock staple. The Moody Blues were masters at blending rock with classical influences, creating rich, atmospheric soundscapes. Now, what makes Legend of a Mind truly interesting is how it weaves different musical sections together. It moves through verses, instrumental breaks, and a free-form middle section that feels like a journey. It's not just a song, it's an experience, expanding rock music beyond the typical verse-chorus structure into something cinematic and emotive. Ah yes, the mighty King Crimson, 21st Century Schizoid Man, from the 1969 debut in the Court of the Crimson King. For many, this is where progressive rock truly crystallised. I mean, listen to that opening riff, heavy, aggressive and complex. It's almost like a punch in the face. This track has it all. Time signature changes, blistering guitar solos, jazz-inspired drum fills, and let's not forget Greg Lake's distorted vocals. It was dark, chaotic and completely different from anything else at the time. This was the moment when progressive rock got a clear identity. It wasn't just longer songs or odd lyrics, it was a whole new approach to making music. Next we have the Nice with the Thoughts of Emerlist Davjack. Now this one's fascinating because it features none other than Keith Emerson on keyboards, who would later go on to form Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Released in 1967, it's often considered one of the first proper progressive rock tracks. Now it's playful, it's psychedelic, and it blurs the line between rock and classical music. Emerson's use of the Hammond organ here is just incredible. He brings a sort of grandeur to rock music that hadn't been heard before. It's cheeky, experimental, and it gives you a taste of where things were heading. Now, we can't talk about the roots of progressive rock without mentioning Pink Floyd.
Set the controls controls for the heart of the sun.
Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun from the 1968 album A Saucer Full of Secrets is a perfect example of their early experimentation. It's hypnotic. It has that Eastern music influence with the gong, and the whole thing is like a slow build, creating an almost trance-like state. This track is less about complexity in terms of time signatures or technical solos, but more about atmosphere. Floyd were masters of using sound to evoke emotion, and you can hear them starting to explore the vast potential of music as an experience. Finally, let's wrap this video up with Yes and the 1969 track Time and a Word. Yes would go on to become one of the defining bands of the progressive rock movement, and this song shows the direction they were beginning to head in. Here, they blend in rock with orchestral arrangements, adding layers of complexity and a sense of grandeur. John Anderson's vocals are filled with optimism, and you can hear the tight harmonies and intricate guitar work that would become hallmarks of their sound. Time in a Word is like a window into what the band would soon accomplish with albums like Fragile and Close to the Edge. It's the sound of the band on the verge of greatness. And there you have it. 6 tracks from the 1960s that were crucial in shaping what would become progressive rock. From the poetic atmospherics of Procol Harum to the complex and chaotic sounds of King Crimson, these songs laid the groundwork for an entire genre. They showed that rock could be grand, it could be ambitious, and it could be artistically limitless. Of course, this is just the beginning. The 70s saw the genre explode with bands like Genesis, Yes, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, taking the ideas to new heights. But it all started here, in the 60s, with musicians who dared to experiment. If you've enjoyed this dive into prog rock history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which early progressive rock tracks are your particular favourites. I'm Dave, the album review guy, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.